The dialogue of mutual sensory environmental informed consent for my healthcare has progressed smoothly. I finally feel included as an equal in my own care. It has taken consensus choice-making, where both myself and my healthcare provider had the interpretive support we needed to arrive at the documented consensus outcome that is now the legal framework for mutual sensory environmental informed consent for my healthcare. Even with this careful planning and careful choreography, I have reached a point where my executive functionality left me. Responsible and reflective use of my privilege tells me I am not alone. As an autistic care partner for invisibly disabled persons, I am granted a vulnerable privilege that comes along with a responsibility to learn from those I support to improve their quality of life. As I hold space for them to teach me, each in their own way, at their own pace, and using their own languages, I realize the transition space we all need does not exist. Through dignity of collective risk, I dream of leading the creation of mutual space within the careful choreography that is mutual sensory environmental informed consent for my healthcare. In such a space, where a collective language has been co-created through participatory dialogue, stewarded by declarative language, inviting my participatory response, as well as priorly agreed upon environmental signposts, we arrive at a point where my healthcare providers' narrated action and our environment will manage my pain of touch. As I prepare to transition my mutually dynamic consent experience from participatory dialogic care to narrative care, I arrive at the point of no return, as we agreed in writing before the dialogue that began the mutual sensory environmental informed consent for my care. The cumulative signposts to this moment have nurtured my sensory and executive capacities to choose dignity of collective risk rather than coercion. As I prepare to receive my healthcare provider's therapeutic touch, we complete the exploration of the unspoken mutual expectations and how to safely cross the invisible boundaries that will permit me to maintain my situational awareness when my senses are overwhelmed. By prior consensus, a written plan details how aseptic technique through which we have already spent time mutually and collaboratively demonstrating collective respect for our care environment. In the process of preparing a mutual privilege where I am able to understand what is happening around me during times when privilege coerces me to acquiesce simply because of the traditional vulnerability of my current privilege dynamic. Rather than be abandoned to this alienating vulnerability, dignity of collective risk extends an equitable invitation for me to collaboratively overcome my historical abandonment to co-create my mutually reciprocal environmental care. By prior written consensual agreement, we have settled on this double gloving approach as a primary environmental intervention. This combination has an outer surface that feels as smooth as a window pane, but has just enough flex to it that with sufficient pressure, I am able to triangulate where in my mouth my healthcare provider is working. At 25.6 mils, it is on the thinner end of what I can comfortably tolerate in my mouth. I keep searching for a combination of glove, thickness, and/or materials that will smooth overall to the inside of my cheeks, lip, and gums, where the glove maintains just enough of a crease that I can, with my healthcare provider's narrated therapeutic touch, have an idea of where the tip of their finger is, rather than some other part of their hand. When I finally find such a glove combination, I dream the signposts this combination provides becomes the executive function that I realize is currently overwhelmed at this point in my primary care journey, frozen in my environment and unable to functionally communicate. I prepare to endure what comes next while dreaming of a better way. While my privilege of being an autistic care partner for invisibly disabled persons allows me to realize primary care environments moderately impact my functionality, I hold space for the teachings of others who experience greater vulnerability than myself in the same situation. In Part 2, we shall explore the possible affordances for communication granted by small, simple changes to the collaborative practices of aseptic technique, which can grant invisibly disabled persons functional communications during phases in primary care. Without these simple changes, we otherwise are uncommunicative.